Kia ora, good evening and welcome to the Huddy Hui for episode 117. We're going to do things differently tonight. Well, guest isn't going to be able to join us straight away at 9, but we're going to kick off looking at round one of the Jubilee and Hardham Cups, and joining us is injured rugby referee Ethan Lage. He's a premier referee who definitely want to be a bit out there this year, but unfortunately injuries have been a bit of a problem for you this year, Ethan.
Yeah, evening, Brett. They have 3.5 weeks post-surgery now. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a Waisaki Naholo and be available for this week, but that's the way life goes. I know there's plenty of people out in the community that have had similar knee injuries. They take their time, but no, very much looking forward to the first round of Jubilee and Hardham Cups. There's some interesting matchups.
And of course you've been laid up for a while, but you managed to go seen a few games this season and pass on some words of advice to referees. Let's look at the first game of the Jubilee Cup playoffs. Our guest will be playing for the Billy Goats, who won the Swindale Shield last weekend with only one loss this season against Tawa. And Tawa, well, they always time their run late in the season, and they've got some Super Rugby players back for this game.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. OBU were obviously very much deserved winners of the Swindale this year. When these two teams met in round 5, OBU won that 43-29. I think like anything, Brad, we saw last year with Auris finishing 8th, they ended up winning the competition. So what really makes this interesting is who's going to turn up on the day. And of course, whoever wins this game is going to get an extra week off. And, of course, statistically, the teams that have had that week off haven't actually won. So, look, it's going to be a really interesting matchup at Rugby League Park. And I'm sure Hamish Mixed will be kept on his toes for that game.
Yes, an experienced referee for that game, well over 100 games refereeing. I'm probably going to go OBU on that one, considering I saw them play last week, and they look in pretty fine form. Next up is Petone versus Huddle Boys Maris. This is a repeat of McBain Shield from 3 weeks ago. It's a different story now. It's the Jubilee Cup, and these two teams is no real lost love between these two rivals in the Hutt Valley.
No, there's not. It's always exciting to see these two teams come up twice in the same season. Obviously, Petone getting up 48-31 that day at the Petone Rec. I think it's going to be a really close game, this, and I do wonder with the amount of rain we've had this week, Brad, whether the Petone Rec turf might have a little bit more to say in it this week than perhaps it did 3 weeks ago in that high-scoring McBain game. So, look, it's going to be an interesting one. Charlie Harris has got the whistle for that. I would think probably Petone at home probably sneak through in that one.
Yeah, they should too, and if hopefully they'll be able to have the services of Riley Higgins, hopefully, for that. Now, of course, you saw Upper Hutt play last week against Avalon. They're at home against Maris St. Pat's. The winner of this game gets another life in the Jubilee Cup. The loser goes down to the Hardham Cup. Upper Hutt did beat Maris St. Pat's very narrowly a few weeks ago. Maris have got a lot of injuries and coming off a heavy loss against Johnsonville. You would probably say the Rams are the favourites for this one, considering they're back at home.
Yeah, I would think so, Brad. Look, these two teams have had a really good rivalry in the last couple of years. Watching them last week, I thought Upper Hutt looked quite tidy. They had the services of Salisa Rayasi, who looked very comfortable at fullback. The game was really good, really entertaining, but it was more entertaining watching Jamie Fairmaid fall over. But
it's nothing new.
No, look, I think I agree with you. I think Upper Hutt Rams at home are going to be very hard to beat. Only Auris have done that this year, so look, it's going to be it'll be an exciting game, and Matt Thomas has the whistle for that one.
And, of course, to close out the round one of the Jubilee Cup is another one. The winner goes through, the loser is in the Hardham Cup. This is Jubilee Cup, by the way, sorry. Auris against Parramatta Plimmerton. They opened the round this year for the Swindale Shield. They were also the finalists in the Jubilee Cup last year. Auris coming off a narrow loss to Hutt, and Parramatta Plimmerton tough win over Wainui over there in Wainui and Mata. You'd probably say Auris with this one, but if Parramatta Plimmerton can get their team together and going on fire, they could easily do it.
Yeah, they certainly haven't looked out of sorts the last few weeks. They've certainly pushed their teams, but like you say, Auris at home, big community support down on the Miramar Peninsula there, and yeah, look, a well-deserved appointment for Jamie as well. So yeah, look, it's a really exciting round of 4 games in the Jubilee Cup. Obviously, the top 4 teams fighting out for that extra life, and of course, Upper Hutt, MSP, and Auris Paraplim fighting for their survival in the comps. And like I said earlier, any one of those teams have any number of reasons they could win, and that's what makes the competition so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at the Hardham Cup. Of course, this cup has more history than the actual Jubilee Cup, but we've got Wainui Mata against Avalon to open up this fixture at William Jones Park. Avalon, though, without a win this season, have been pretty gutsy, but Wainui seem to be going pretty well and be tough to beat at William Jones Park, one would think.
Yeah, they're always tough to beat at home. It's a wonderful place to go and referee or watch a game of rugby. I'm sure Avalon will be disappointed after their loss to Upper Hutt last week. Look, it's going to be tough for them going to Wainui and trying to put on a good performance. But yeah, I would think Wainui at home 9 times out of 10 would beat any team. That, of course, is going to be refereed by Steve Newson, which is his 100th overall Premier game. I think this is his 90th.
Wow. Oh, wow.
This is his 90th in Wellington, followed by a smattering of others in the Wairarapa and various other corners of the country. So it's a big weekend for him. I know he's got some family coming down and an interesting AR too as well, with a similar surname. So look, that's going to be fantastic for his family, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be a really good game as well.
Second game of the Hardham Cup is Johnsonville against Wellington. Many would think that Johnsonville probably should be a Jubilee Cup side, but they've had games this year they've lost in the last minute, like 3 or 4 of them in a row, but last week they showed against Marist what they're capable of. They should be heavy favourites to beat the Axemen at home.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say, Brad. Look, after their lofty heights of last season, they're probably a little bit disappointed to be in the Hardham Cup this year, but such is the way of life. Things don't always go your way, and look, they suffered some tough losses there partway through the season, but look, they were very clinical, especially in that second half against MSP last week at home, and I'm sure a big Jayville crowd will help them get over the line.
And of course, the close-out round 1 of the Hardham Cup is Pōneke against Norths. This was a draw in the Swindale Shield regular season that was out at Pairua Park. Pōneke pushed Petone a little bit until the last quarter. Norths, unfortunately, coming off a heavy loss against Old Boys University last weekend. Out at Kilburnie Park, Pōneke should be too strong for this one.
Yeah, second trip into town for Norths, 2 weekends in a row is going to be pretty tough for them. Of course, that, like you said, that was one of 3 draws in the Swindale this year. So that will make things, that always makes things interesting. That was back in round 7. But look, Ben Van Berkel at Kilburnie Park's going to have a nice, close, competitive game. And I suppose the beauty of these 2 competitions is the teams are often very evenly matched, which makes for better rugby. So it's exciting to see, and very much looking forward to getting out and about, even if I don't quite know where I'm going to end up yet. Yeah. But looking forward to it.
Now, of course, it's the last round of the first 15 premiership before the school holidays. And, of course, these are the games that are on. Wairarapa College host Hutt International Boys School. Rongotai College versus St. Pat's Town. That's a traditional, that one. Wellington College have Paraumu College. Tawa have St. Bernard's, and St. Bernard's coming off a victory over Francis Douglas today. But the game of the round in particular is out at Scots College. It's Scots versus Silverstream. And history goes to show these teams have been in the finals for most of the last decade. The results in this game have always been very close. Silverstream winning out there 2 years ago, and Scots winning out at Silverstream last year, and then also taking out the premiership. Scots not as strong as previous years. Silverstream on paper should win. The question will be, can they keep their discipline and get their forwards going? What's your thoughts on this one, Ethan?
Yeah, I had the privilege of refereeing one of those finals at an empty Sky Stadium, which ended in an infamous draw. Look, of all the sort of non-traditional first 15 games, I think this would have to be one of the biggest rivalries in the country that has formed over the last decade, and it always makes for an interesting game, regardless of the strength of either side. Look, Silverstream aren't going to take this lightly. A trip out to Strathmore Park is hard enough at the best of times, and like you say, they put on a very clinical performance against Rongotai a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately missed out last week when they couldn't play Hibs. But look, I'm sure they would have kept training hard. I'm sure they would have used that extra week off to their advantage. And look, if you're not interested in watching any club rugby, that's certainly where I'd be heading.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ethan, it's been great having you on the Hui to preview the games this weekend. All the best with your injury recovery, and hopefully we'll see you around for the remaining weeks of club rugby in the capital city.
Cheers, Brad. Look forward to it, mate.
That is Ethan Lage. He is Premier referee out with injury. He had a bit of knee surgery this season, but it's good to have him on. He's been out there also when he isn't able to referee, go and coach other referees around Wellington. So that's good to see that he's on the mend, and hopefully be back refereeing Premier Rugby next season. Well, our guest has now joined us on the live stream. Our guest tonight is Finn O'Sullivan from Old Boys University, and he is coming off a rather big weekend with Old Boys University winning the Swindale Shield. Finn, many thanks for coming on the show. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thanks, Brad. Me.
Oh, it looks like I'll just put my other mic in. Sorry, I can hear you now. How are you, Finn?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me tonight.
No, good. So you had a bit of training tonight out at Rugby League Park. Was that club training or was that Wellington Academy?
Yeah, it was with the academy. Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. So a great win last week for Old Boys University, taking out the Swindale Shield for 2024. How special was that winning the Shield outright last weekend?
No, it was pretty special to win some silverware straight out of school. Yeah, the boys were pretty pumped, and we just stuck to our game plan, and it all worked out well.
Also, what was also special about that day out at Rugby League Park was the Premier 2s also took out the Harper Shield. A great victory for them as well, but that team pretty much looked like another OBU Premier side, didn't it?
Yeah, well, at the club we've got a lot of depth through both teams where we train together as one group, P2s and Prems. So, yeah, it works well when it comes to Saturday.
And, of course, despite the fact the score was 95-0 last week, the team pretty much played a near perfect game plan, in particular around the forward pack. Tell us about the forwards, because you're inside that machine. Who's the catalyst to that forward pack firing this season?
I'd say at the moment it's probably Dougal around the middle, because he's always the one taking up off the lineouts, and then we kind of base it around, fold around again, and then, yeah.
And how did the club celebrate this, not only just the Swindale Shield, but the Harper Shield last Saturday?
Oh, yeah, just had a quiet night at the Cambridge, yeah.
No, well, you've got a bigger assignment this weekend, which we'll come to very soon, Finn. Only the one loss for the OBU Premiers this season. It was in round 3 against Petone at home at Nianville Park. What did the team learn from that game, considering that at half-time you had Petone down and out of the game?
Well, I actually played for that was my first game back from injury. I played for the reserves, and then came to training on Tuesday, and we basically just talked about how we can't fall off in the second half. We have to be the first to score straight away to keep it going.
And of course, from that, the team has gone on to great success. What do you think is the one game that stood out for the Premiers this season that really cemented why you are the top team in Premier Rugby this year?
For me, it was probably the MSP game.
Yep.
Faced a red card. I was the one that got the red card.
We'll talk about that card soon. But it was a game that,
we just dug through till the end, and it showed when we made that kick that even though bad games can be good games,
And who got that winning kick? Because that was a real beauty. It was from a difficult angle. Oh, no, pretty hard place
Yeah,
to
that was
play,
Muller.
Bay Park. Was that Muller, was it? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, also, thinking about that game, you mentioned that you got a red card. Of course, that was just before last weekend. What happened there? How did the red card get rescinded?
Oh, so basically, I wasn't too sure, but I think the ref rewatched it and came forward and said himself that it should have been a yellow. So yeah.
Well, that's always good news. So at least you got to play last weekend. Yeah. Now, the Old Boys University, who are the coaching staff for the Billy Goats, and what have they brought to the club this season?
So we got Anthony Ruatai, Tomasi Palu. We got Champs, Dave Rugg, who's our manager. He's great. And then we also have Patches. He's everywhere. He's our manager. And yeah, our coaches are they're all about connecting it as one herd, one group. So at trainings, Prem 2s, we're all involved together. So that everyone, that's how we get the depth,
And I believe your head coach also has been in the injury woes this year. What happened to him?
Yeah. I was right next to him. He was starting to run. He jumped up and boom, he's just fallen over. And he tore his Achilles, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, that's a nasty injury. Yeah, no, they're nasty Achilles injuries. Well, you mentioned Patches. We were going to save this question to the end, but how cool and good is Patches? He's been around the club scene for a long time, but he gives a lot back to the Billy Goats, doesn't he?
No, but yeah, Patches is a legend. He's always in great spirits at trainings, always running around at games as well. He's always after the game, hits you up with chocolate milk. he's everywhere, yeah.
This season, you've been in the locking partnership with Boston Hunt, who 2 years ago was playing for Norths in the Jubilee Cup final. They won, and he also won the Jim Brown Memorial Medal for Player of the Final. What have you learnt from Boston this season, being in the locking partnership with him?
Yeah, Boston's great. He's given me a few tips just in the lineouts and scrums. We worked pretty well together in the scrum on Saturday. From the past week before MSB, we were a bit mismatched, and then we talked about our training, and it came together on Saturday pretty well against North.
Your premier debut was against Huddy Boys Maris this year. How is that experience running out for the Billy Goats for the first time?
Yeah, I was pretty nervous, to be honest, because it was pretty neck and neck, and I came on with a half to go, so I didn't want to screw anything up or anything. But yeah, it went good. Got the win.
You can also play flanker as well. Have you played there this season?
Yeah, my first 2 games, I played at 6 for the Prem Reserves against Petone, and the first half against Huddy Boys.
Do you prefer playing lock or on the flanks? What's your preferred position and why?
Oh, at the moment, I'm just trying to play where I get a starting role. I kind of try to play like a flanker, even if I'm at lock. But 6 is probably in the futures where I'd rather be. Yeah.
You have a poster on the back wall there of Michael Jordan, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah. Now, I imagine there must be a quote associated with that poster. What's it say?
It says no bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings.
Oh, terrific. And is that something that you have up there to inspire you with your sporting career?
Yeah, I'll just love his work ethic and mentality around how he trains and how he plays, you just got to train how you play, and it reminds me when I wake up, I'll see it, yeah.
Oh, terrific. That is awesome, old MJ. It's a great quote and poster to have. Now, your captain this season has been Louis Calvert for the Billy Goats. So what has he brought to leadership to the within the group?
Yeah, Louis great. I just saw him before training. He's always on top of everything, and he comes to training prepared with what he's going to talk about and how we can improve as a team. Like in our reviews before trainings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he's always ready straight away.
And what do those reviews entail? Is it a bit like when you're up there at the representative team level? Do you get all the video analysis, or is it just simply the old reviewing by the old-fashioned way?
No, we go pretty in depth. We've got the TV up with we got the huddle, and we're just looking over stuff we can improve on, and we do it at training, and then we look at the good things as well.
Who are some of the key players and characters within the Billy Goats this season?
Well, first of all, you got to say Callum Harkin, because he's the one in the middle, the man in the middle. He's great. Kyle Preston as well. He's everywhere. He's fit. And I'd say as a forward pack, as one, we work really well, and no one's like stepping up too much out of their role. Everyone just plays their role well, and I think that's how we succeed.
Both Callum and Kyle have played at that level of professional rugby, with Callum recently being reselected into the Wellington Lions. What acts of professionalism do they bring within the team?
Yeah, at training, they know when to switch on, like the boys could be mucking around a little bit and they'll just straight away switch on, and that helps the team like train almost as we're professionals, that we're always ready to go. And yeah.
You mentioned when we talked about the Petone game before, you were only in the reserves because you're coming back from injury from memory. Is that correct? Or what injury did you have?
Yeah, well, I was getting my appendix out. I was in.
Oh, geez.
I was in hospital. Yeah.
Well, that was a good time you got that out. That's for sure. So, you're still eligible to play for the Colts. Have you managed to play for the Colts this season yet?
No, I haven't played a game for the Colts yet, but they're going pretty good. I think middle of the leaderboard.
Yeah, well, they're into the second round competition now. As well, let's wind back the clock. Finn, where did your junior rugby begin for you?
Yeah, so I was a West boy up in Corey, Great club.
It's the interesting thing because West have, one of the largest catchments of junior players. Why do you think they don't get the players back there for the senior side of the club?
I'm not too sure why something happened over the politics or something, but I'm not sure. But I think everyone just would have left then, and then they've just found new clubs, and no one's really started back up.
Now, you're a product of Wellington College. Tell us about your time there at Wellington College. It's steeped in history. How were your 5 years there?
Yeah, it was a great 5 years. Some of my best memories, some of my best mates, probably for life. And the rugby was great. Extracurricular activities were good as well. Everything else, all the boys were just keen on everything,
Let's talk through your rugby journey at the college. What teams did you work your way through on the way up before you got to the first 15? What grade did you start at?
So in year 9, I played in the 65s, under 65s, and then I did that again in year 10. And then year 11, I was still pretty small, I was between the Colts and the seconds, bit of both. And then at the probably end of year 11, I had a bit of a growth spurt, and then year 12, I was in the first 15.
But also, were you a lock and a flanker at that time before you had that growth spurt?
Nah, yeah, I was playing as a number 7 or number 8 back then.
Made the first 15 in your year 12 year. Tell us about that season for the first 15.
So I played lock that year in year 12 because we had some pretty good loosies. And Namir said to me if I wanted to start, I'd have to play at lock. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great.
Namir Tialata, you just mentioned, is the director of rugby at Wellington College alongside Piri Wepu, who is the coach of the first 15. What have they brought to the rugby club at Wellington College? Because they've really brought back a sense of pride and strength back to the Wellington College jersey.
Yeah, no, they're great. They're just really committed people, and at training as well, they're pretty tough, which makes the boys fit and one group, So yeah, they're good.
We asked Stanley Solomon this question a few years ago. What it was like to walk into the pavilion changing rooms and see them all done up. What was the feeling like? Because it was a bit like a professional setup, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, that was mean. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I walked in. It was pretty surreal. It felt like we were at NZCIS, those changing rooms. They were mean. Yeah.
Last year, 2023 was, at the time, a tough year for Cole to start off their rugby program. A week before you had quad at home, you had an unexpected loss to St Bernard's. How did the team regroup after that shocking loss?
Yeah, well, I didn't play in that game due to concussion, but the team was. We kind of felt like going into quad. Well, we've just had a terrible loss and we have nothing to lose now. Let's just go as hard as we can and stick to our structures and hopefully it'll play out. And yeah, it did. So
now, of course, let's talk about quad from last year. You went into the tournament at home, probably not expected to do well. And of course, you made it all the way to the final for quad and won it. How special was it, one, not only to bounce back after that loss to St Bernard's, but two, to do it and to win the quad tournament in front of your your supporters?
Yeah, no, I was actually on the sideline again there as well, running the tee, but it felt like I was playing it was extremely hype. I was running up and down with the tee. It was neck and neck near the end, and then Archie made that kick. I think, was it 1 point lead? That kick? Yeah. Yeah, and just I believed in the boys, from the start of that game. I was like, yeah, I believe we can do it, and it happened.
Speaking about that, Jacob Kennedy is now also in Premier Rugby for Johnsonville. He scored a record amount of tries that day, didn't he?
Yeah, he was surreal, That intercept one, put the boosters on, he was gone. No one was getting him on that one. Yeah.
Now, you just mentioned that you're out for quad and that Berners game with concussion. Is that the first time you've had concussion? What were your symptoms like?
Yeah, well, it was more of just I think my second concussion, and the first one was when I was about 8 or 9. So the symptoms weren't too bad after, it was a clean knockout. So yeah, I was just straight blue carded, and then kind of came back to sense in the change room and realized what had happened, and then I had a headache for that night, but the next few days I was fine, just did the protocol, and yeah.
Did you manage to see the 2024 quad at Nelson College, and how good were Nelson this year?
Yeah, no, they were pretty insane. I saw it on TV. My dad was actually down in Nelson for work, so he went and had a watch. And yeah, Nelson, they just had some real speed the whole game. We're moving, had us on the back foot, but yeah.
When you finished Wellington College ended last year, what are you doing these days? Are you studying, working? What is Finn O'Sullivan doing?
Yeah, I'm at Vic Uni studying commerce, majoring in management, and yeah, it's going pretty good at the moment.
And also, what representative teams have you played for? One, at your time at college, and what you're doing now within Wellington. Yeah,
well, during school, I didn't play. I under 16s, and I didn't make the 18s Hurricanes, but I played in the under 18 Centurions side during school, and then I played in the Wellington 20s Academy games, both of those, and then I was selected for the wider under 20 Hurricane squad, but I was getting my appendix out, so yeah.
And how'd you find playing under 20 rugby for Wellington?
Yeah, well, my first game I came off the bench with only about 16, 17 to go, and yeah, it's pretty physical coming up against some big boys because I hadn't played any club rugby yet. It was just based off first 15, so came on, and yeah, it was pretty tough, but yeah.
And have you found being in that setup, and what are the work-ons that those in the Wellington system asking you to make improvements on?
Yeah, at the moment, it's just basically my strength and weight, just building that up.
Now, this Saturday, Old Boys University have to play Tawa out at Rugby League Park. This is going to be a tough challenge. There have always been close games between these two clubs, but they've got some of their players back that have been playing Super Rugby. How's the team looking forward to this game, and who are the players in the Tawa side that you'll have to watch out for?
Yeah, I think the boys, our training on Tuesday went really well, and I think if we just stick to our structures and do as much as we can, I think we can get on top. But I think we're going to have to watch out for who do they have in the forward pack? Hugo.
Hugo, PJ. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, PJ Sheck as well, yeah. No, those two will probably be pretty good in the scrum, so we're going to have to look at that.
Well, Finn, it's been fantastic having you on the Huddy Hui tonight, and many thanks for coming on just after 9. It's always a bit late on a Wednesday, but go well for this Saturday against Tawa, and hopefully Old Boys University might be able to go all the way.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Cheers. Thank you, Finn. That is Finn O'Sullivan, who's the lock for Old Boys University, having a stellar season for Old Boys University in club rugby. Well, of course, the game this weekend that we are covering on Huddy Sports is a repeat of McBain Shield from 3 weeks ago. It is Batoni taking on Hutt Old Boys Maris from the Batoni Rec at 2:45 this Saturday. The winner gets a week off. Whoever loses has to play again next week. So this is going to be another cracker of a game. It's back at the Batoni Rec, and Batoni repeat their McBain success, or will Hutt bounce back? So that one will be one to watch out for. And always, we like to thank our sponsors, Mike Plimfold Plumbing and Drain Lane Limited and Louise Reddy New Zealand Travel Brokers. And as always, we're always on the lookout for support. So if you're willing to help Huddy Sports, go to huddysports.co.nz, go to our socials on Facebook and Instagram, and also our email, which is huddysportsnz@gmail.com. Well, that is the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to Ethan Lage, injured referee at the start of this episode, previewing the games, and also to Finn O'Sullivan from Old Boys University. We'll be back next Wednesday, probably at our regular time, but we'll keep an eye. We'll let you know what that will look like. That is the Huddy Hui for tonight. I'm Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.